Hello, and welcome to our conversation today on our pathway session. That is really our goal here is to share the vision for pathways and career development and for core members and start a dialogue with communities across the country on what collective pathway strategies really look like. When programs come together to really build out how core members are prepared for life after service. Each program and we'll talk a little bit more about their successes as well as their collective strategies that they're engaging on. I am Monique Ellington, Director of Programs, Equity and Inclusion at Service Year Alliance. I'm really excited for this conversation that really bridges together my professional experience and understanding workforce development strategies. I have about 15 years of experience in that space, but also some of the ways in which we are building out talent pipelines through service years for local workforce development needs. So in a moment, I will pass it over to Marsha Hazen, who will talk a lot about the Michigan Community Service Commission's work, and then we'll pass it over to Jenna as well.
All right, well, my name's Marsha Hazen. I am the AmeriCorps Partnerships Coordinator with the Michigan Community Service Commission. I've been in my role now for just about 3 years, but I've been involved in the national service world and with service years for about a decade. I was an AmeriCorps Vista member, did 2 years of AmeriCorps State and National, then went on to be a program director for a number of years, and then I'm now with the State Commission. So I'm really excited to be involved in this conversation and pleased to talk a little bit about why this is so important for state commissions across the country.
Awesome. Thank you, Marsha, for joining us. Jenna Meglin, if you can give us a brief introduction of your background as well.
Yes, good afternoon, y'all. My name is Jenna Meglin. I am the Associate Director of Planning and Policy at Partners for Education at Berea College in right on the foothills of Appalachia in Kentucky. So I've been in the service world probably for about 3 years. We really started out with Service Year Alliance as an impact community. Our impact community is all 54 Appalachian Kentucky counties. But we've also, through our work at Partners for Education, have really looked at service programs as a strategy. So we really broadened our work to nationally of really looking at what we have a partnership with the Bomber Group of really looking at a real talent development pipeline. So how service can really develop local leaders. So I'll get more into that, but I'm excited to be here with you guys and look forward to the chat.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jenna. So we're going to dive into our first question here. And please feel free as you listen in to write your questions in the chat. We will work to address those in this conversation. But I want to start off with a really important conversation to set the tone here. Why do you believe it's important to advance service years as a talent pipeline and as a skill development opportunity? And either one of you can jump in first.
I'll kick us off. So I know that, skill development is something that most individuals that are looking to do a year of service are really looking to incorporate into their experience. And that's one of the main motivating factors for them in wanting to participate. They want to make their community a better place, but they also want to build those skills and their professional experience through the process. So that's a really great opportunity for individuals to really gain those skills and to develop that experience. I would also say that it's important as a recruitment strategy for service year programs themselves. So knowing that individuals are looking for that experience, that really rich experience of being able to develop those skills throughout their service term is an important way, and I think important when you're talking to potential candidates about what they're going to be provided throughout the experience. And then lastly, I think it's really essential for developing like a talent pipeline for nonprofit organizations, for schools, and also for public service entities, because we do know that service year members are really the leaders of tomorrow. And so their experience in the service learning world and everything that they gain throughout their experience is something that they can take forward with them as they enter those career paths, or, you know, if they're changing their direction, but they're bringing a lot to the table. So I think it's beneficial for everyone involved.
Awesome.
Marshall,
Thank you.
Lead off a little bit what you said. So we work, of course, Appalachia is rural, but also across the country. And one thing we've noticed, which is also in urban, but especially in rural communities, a lot of our nonprofit organizations, just organizations, schools, a lot of them are aging leadership. So we really see service, the skills developed through a year of service is really developing those young leaders to be those leaders of those organizations in their community where they have been raised, they went to school, and now they're serving. So we really see. And not only do they get the skills developed, but they're really building those connections and those partnerships with those current leaders in those organizations. So we really see that the skill development through service year really makes those connections. It builds their confidence, we have learned. So through our work, we worked with Daryl Lester out of South Carolina, who's awesome, all about community, place-based, and service. And he did a small qualitative project, interviewed a number of our current and alumni partner corps. So our AmeriCorps program is called Partner Corps, to really learn why they decided to serve, what was beneficial when it came to their development as a person, and what was really helpful as they left. And one thing couple things, like Marcia said, is that development, you know, those leadership, but also it was the self-confidence and the hope and pride they had within themselves was uplifted and into the community. So we really see that skill development is not only for those more practical skills, but also for the members to really find their authentic self, so they can really build and find what kind of leader they want to be. And as our hope is that they'll be leaders within the community that they're serving, which is also the community which they have been born and raised.
Thank you so much. I heard some key buzzwords, like these are our leaders for tomorrow, that the service opportunities really build personal agency and the self-confidence to be able to address challenging issues in your area, and allows for them to grow authentically as civic leaders, and really focus on how do they meet those needs in their community while also building the types of skills that will be necessary for their long-term success. Absolutely. Want to jump into our next question here. How are service years uniquely positioned to build skill development opportunities for post-service pathways?
Yeah, I think one thing that's really unique about a service year experience is that it's really an accessible opportunity for a lot of individuals, because you don't have to come into it with any previous experience in a particular area. So young people that are passionate about a particular, community challenge, and have the heart for wanting to serve, but don't have any of that previous experience, are still able to enter a service year position in that particular area, and can really grow and develop throughout a year of AmeriCorps service or a year of service. And so it's an opportunity for them to just gain that that level of knowledge, a deeper understanding of that community issue, as well as, build their own confidence in what they're able to bring to the table. And yeah, it's, I think, something that's really unique about service learning in general.
Yes.
I think another thing that's uniquely about service year opportunities is, of course, the educational award. A lot of members, they're able to continue their college. We have a number of our members that, they started off, life happened in some form or fashion, so they have student debt. So student debt is limiting a lot of people to be able to further their education in our region and of course across the country. But that is one, it's, the educational award is able to help. But we also look at it in our region, a lot of, unfortunately, the stipend is somewhat of a livable wage in some of our rural counties. So people are able to really build their skills and be able to bring home a little bit of money to be able to continue their education. But I think one of the big things is the year of service is almost like an internship. So our partner corps is in the schools. So it really allows the principal, the superintendent, the teachers, everyone at the school to really, see these members, get to know them, almost mentor them. So as their service year continues, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, it's really that continuous relationship building, but it's also an internship. So we have a number of our members that once they'll go on to school, or if they've already finished their school, they will actually get hired on by the school district where they served, because it's been a 1, 2, 3 year internship, and the students know the individual and they see the benefit that the member, they've seen them grow through the development and the skills that they have been able to acquire through the year of service.
Excellent. And what I hear in your responses has been that service years are really a training ground, and that you don't have to come into these opportunities with experience, but you will develop and hone skills and the innate assets that you probably bring into service that will better prepare you for long-term success. I also heard some of the benefits of a service year, which is the Ed Award. But also I want to talk a little bit about something you mentioned, Jenna, as well, is that this opportunity to build social capital, that others are seeing the work that you're doing. They're seeing the growth that you're making as a corps member. And then they're able to leverage that as they think about, as you sit before them in an interview, or you're thinking about your next opportunity and really thinking about, wow, this person has really grown in their service experience, and service gives that pathway, that process and that opportunity for you to grow and have the supports that are necessary for you to try out new things as you achieve your service goals within your service year program. That is phenomenal. Can you talk a little bit about what are the essential steps? And I know both of you are probably well versed in this area, but essential steps did your programs or specific initiatives develop to advance post-service pathways for your corps members?
Yeah, so at the state commission level, one of the things that we've been doing is really trying to have a robust conversation that brings a lot of different folks to the table to talk about these, barriers and also the opportunities that are out there to advance these initiatives. So we, over this past year, have put together a National Service Advisory Council that brings together programs from different focus areas, from different geographical areas, as well as what we call different streams of service. So AmeriCorps State and National, VISTA, NCCC, and other programs and kind of key players in the service year world to really talk about what are the barriers that are hindering individuals from, getting the most out of their education award benefit, for instance, or, what things could we be better doing with our individual programs and as a state commission to support our programs when we're thinking about utilizing service years as a workforce development strategy. And so I think by having those different voices at the table and really seeing the different perspectives, because service years are so diverse in the ways that their programs are structured, as well as their, the strategies and things that they're implementing can be really innovative and may work from program to program if it's just, kind of tweaked a little bit, but also having the support of a larger cohort to really push some of those initiatives forward, because as a single program, it can be difficult to really change the scope of what's happening within, a statewide perspective. But, together we know that we can accomplish a lot.
Thank you, Marcia. Yes, and Marcia, I agree. It's, strategy workforce development. So I'll be completely transparent. When we, our our first step is to realize that we needed to put the members in the center of the result and not just those that are being served. So when we started out, what we call our AmeriCorps program with about 12 years ago, we really were focused on it as a place-based program to really accelerate educational outcomes. So really looking at how can we move the dial at a population level, whether it's third grade reading. For us, it was high school graduation and access to post-secondary education. But we're really looking at that outcome of the program and not so much as the outcome of the members that are serving. So our first step was really to move the members into that center that, so it's two, it's like it's that double, but then there's also a triple bottom line, which we've heard Brooke and Maura talk about, which I'll talk about a little bit more of how we've been using that. But that was our first step, is to really ensure that we put them at the center and that we were providing those opportunities, effectively using that 20% of the hours you can use for your members for member development. Because it is very hard to, hours are hard to come by. When you're running a program and, they love working with the kids or whoever those that are serving. So that was our first step. Our second step was really to start connecting with organizations and nonprofits and schools, just to let them know that, hey, yes, this member is here to provide this service, but also we want to provide the best experience for our members. So when they do leave, that they will be equipped with the skills, knowledge, and expertise, or what it might be to maybe be a teacher at your school because you've talked about how awesome this person is, how great they are. So doing that. And then for us, it's, when that light bulb went out, that it's, service years is not only a strategy to accelerate educational outcomes, but also a strategy to develop talent, and it's a workforce development strategy, is when we really have focused on, we have my big part of my work related to service years really leading what we're calling the rural talent development pipeline with the bomber. So there's we have a website. It's serveinrural.org. I'm gonna throw that plug in there real quick. But really it's, educating folks about how you can leverage service opportunities to develop leaders to, our thing is, we want the residents to be the members, and we would love for them to serve in their community and come back to their community. But I know that's also hard to come back to your community if you go on to school, because in rural communities, unfortunately, economic window and scope is a lot smaller because majority of our schools are our main employer. So that really goes back to developing those skills for our members, because so many of our service programs in Eastern Kentucky are school-based. They're in the schools. So, and our schools are our main employer. So how do the programs understand what can be provided to the members to develop them? So we're in early stages of really starting a member training that we're going to pilot in Eastern Kentucky. And our hope is that if we get great feedback then we'll be able to offer this training series and expand on it a lot the next few years to all members that are serving in rural communities. So, but sorry, I rambled on. So the first step is really realizing the strategy is not just for the outcomes.
Thank you so much, Jenna. I think that is such a critical point to make, is that we have to equally be, as programs, focused on not just the service intervention and the outcomes of the service that's being provided to beneficiaries, but also equally invested in the members that are serving and ensuring that they are prepared for their next steps if we're truly going to be a vehicle that really thinks about talent pipelines, but are also contributing to the local workforce in a particular region. So I'm excited to hear about your initiative, the Rural Initiative. Why don't you plug that just once more with the website? And I'm happy to put that in the chat.
Awesome. So it's serveinrural, which here comes out my accent, .org.
Serve in rural.
Yeah, I can even put it in the chat.
Awesome. And then also I want to go back a little bit and talk about, Marsha, the initiative that the Michigan Community Service Commission is doing right now. And I love the idea of bringing together diverse voices, individuals with lived experience, proximate leaders. Of course, these are all probably service year providers in most cases, coming to a collective conversation to explore what talent pipelines look like. How can service years really intersect with workforce development ecosystems and better support talent development and cultivation? Can you, I think, as a person that has participated on some of those calls, I will just name that it is a wide range of topics that are talked about within this working group. One of the initiatives that we have focused on is Service Year Alliance is currently leading an initiative in the Detroit area, increasing service years of the talent pipeline. We're working currently right now with 4 service year programs across the state that are largely supporting the Southeast region or Wayne County or Detroit area to really think about ways that we can intersect with the Mayor's Office of Workforce Development in Detroit and the workforce development ecosystem. And we are finding that there is a lot of interest, a lot of local leaders have been thinking about service, not sure how to tap into that. And one of the benefits has been working with these are the service programs that we're partnered with, is really exploring skill development within their programs and identifying the specific skills that members are walking away with, and also aligning those skills to post-service opportunities, whether that's higher ed. You're going to need skills as you're filling out college applications, as well as looking for that next long-term position. And we've learned a lot about what skill attainment looks like. And we continue to learn with this pilot, but also learning from the workforce development ecosystem. What are the skills that are necessary? So I'll just name some of the ones that have come up in Detroit, have been around technology and health, especially as a result of the pandemic. And while not every program is focused on that as a service intervention, we definitely see a number of transferable skills that members are able to bring to those particular sectors. And so, Marsha, would you like to share anything additional about how the commission came to think about this as a working group, and maybe some of the history around that?
Sure. Yeah. So there used to be, and I don't even know what they were called because this was before I was on the commission, but there was a group of folks that came together around sort of regional collaboration. And so we wanted to take that kind of to the next level with the advisory council. And ultimately what we're hoping to do is to create another entity, which we're planning to call the National Service Leadership Council. So we're really relying on one of our former commissioners to help us pull this group together. But we really want the change makers, the policy makers to be at the table to really hear what initiatives and what's important, the feedback that the advisory council is able to bring forward, and to have those individuals help us kind of push those initiatives forward, because we know that we need some big hitters at the table when it comes to public policy, when it comes to higher education leadership, and all those different community leaders that can really help us drive those initiatives forward. So right now we're identifying them, and we can make some progress ourselves as well. But we know we're going to need to lean on those that can really leverage power to help move those initiatives forward. So that's really what we're sort of building towards.
Awesome. And I know this work is not easy on any level, as it is, Jenna, starting with really thinking about how you have really had to reframe your thinking around service years as a strategy, as a talent pipeline, and really thinking about how incredibly challenging that is to really kind of shift mindsets. And then Marsha, the commission really working to think about where are the opportunities that service can really support local communities throughout the state of Michigan, and where it can be a training ground for a lot of young people and adults that are looking for their next steps. So I want to ask, and I want to be really transparent about what are some of the critical roadblocks and challenges that may impede success or that have challenged you working on these initiatives?
So I think the first one is what I just kind of talked about is, realizing that we need to put the members in the center too. So that was one roadblock, once we got there. But in a lot of in Eastern Kentucky and in a lot of, the rural places that we're reaching out to, it's one barrier is just the lack of awareness of service years. So people are like, what is a service year? Like, is that AmeriCorps? Yes, but that's not the only option. But that's one thing we have learned through our work is just the lack of awareness. And then, of course, the capacity of organizations to connect with service year programs. So what we've really found out is, it goes back to those collaborations, so, if, for example, organization A doesn't have the host site doesn't have the capacity to really develop the members, do they have a partnership with, a university that might be willing to allow a professor to provide some PD? Or is it connecting with, it's just building those existing partnerships and those collaborations that you have is really building on that. And then at that center is really, what does a member development, what does that look like? So that those individuals, that the host site is not additionally feeling, overwhelmed with having to come up with the whole training. So, and that's one thing where we come in with this rural talent development is we have some consultants pretty much on retainer that can really help these organizations that are wanting to really start a service year program to help them develop I'm using develop a lot, a member development training series and really learning what those members would like in that community. So it's really more tailored to each place, because what works in one, it could even be next town over, that it could be a little differently. So, so that was our roadblocks at first, was really, as we work with organization, is, how, who are those partnerships, relationships that they have, because they don't have to do it all themselves. So how do you really collaborate to get that? So that's one that I can think of.
Absolutely. I think we are all naming, as I speak with programs, capacity challenges. And so the more that you can collectively work together across programs to explore strategies. So I will name for the programs that we're working with in Detroit, they've decided to come together collectively and design curriculum that they can share with their core members. So it's not just one program trying to think of all strategies, but they're collectively working together to meet the local workforce needs or just encourage talent pipeline cultivation. Marcia, tell us a little bit about some of the challenges and roadblocks that you may have experienced at the commission level.
Yeah, so echoing what Jenna said, just the lack of awareness about service years and AmeriCorps. When you're looking for those partnerships, those that know and get it right away. Those that don't, sometimes it takes a lot of education to get them up to speed about what national service even is, what service year members bring to the table, and why they should care and buy in. So that's definitely something that we notice as well. I think something else that we run into is some of the bureaucracy and red tape with trying to move initiatives forward. So, thinking about developing partnerships with higher education, for instance, sometimes service year programs just individually are able to create opportunities for their members to get reduced tuition or other kind of incentives. But oftentimes that relationship is, one-to-one. It's that particular program with that particular institution. So we're trying to look at how can we broaden that across our entire state and hopefully across the country, so that members that serve anywhere within a service year program can reap those same benefits, regardless of which college, university, career technical institute they decide that they want to go to, and that there'll be similar incentives across the board. So some of that bureaucracy, I think, is a huge piece, and why we're really hoping to get our leadership council off the ground and have some of them help us move that forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcia. I can just imagine how challenging sometimes it is for programs to not only have capacity to do the in-program training and development, but also the particular outreach that is necessary to ensure that it is bridging to something, whether higher ed or an employment opportunity. So just the idea of the commission and its programs coming together to explore what those initiatives are and really lifting up service as a strategy and not just one program's initiatives is really critical. I'm also hearing too that awareness is often the biggest barrier. And I think that I'll just share, just entering into the service space, not having done a service year myself, and really coming from the workforce development space, I was like, this is pretty much the same thing. So if we are able to discuss service years as a talent pipeline or as an opportunity for individuals to build skills, then we know it can better align. And I think some of that is about speaking the language that your audience needs to hear and being able to translate what a service year experience really provides to its members is critical. I really appreciate you all talking through that. We have a question here in the chat specifically to you, Jenna, and it is, can you comment about more regarding the specific positions that AmeriCorps members typically fill post-service within schools or education entities?
Yeah, so within our actual school districts, a lot of times it's the guidance counselors, so the counselor positions, but also actual teachers. So we do, for our partner corps, we do require what would be equivalent to 2 years of college credit. So a lot of times what ends up happening is they can finish the 2 years and then a lot of them get their teaching certificate, or they go into social work, something along that. So majority of the ones at the school districts will be your counselors, guidance counselors, and actual teachers. And then for educational institutions, I mean, we actually hire a large percentage of our partner corps ourselves at Partners for Education. So actually all our site coordinators for our partner corps are all partner corps alum. And then we also have just across the board, a lot of so Partners for Education right now, we're majority of public funding. We leverage about $40 million a year of public funding, whether it's Promise Neighborhoods, Gear Ups, full service community schools. So some of our folks get employed for us, and then they go back, they'll work as academic interventionists through our programs, a variety of different positions we have here at Partners for Education through our federal funding grants.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, in Michigan, we have educational programs too. And I've seen members going into like parapro positions, coordinating before and after school programs, and doing like community resource coordination as well. So there's a lot of opportunities, beyond, being a teacher that are available in schools as well.
Excellent. One of the other follow-up questions to education is, do members receive any type of discounted tuition? Have you found that in your work?
So actually that's another part of my work is policy. So that's a big thing. But we haven't seen any. We're getting ready to start having conversations with the state, especially at our community colleges, to see if that would be an opportunity. I know there's some other partners we've talked across the country are hoping to partner with some local colleges that are within their rural footprint that might be that partner that would waive or discount tuition. But that is definitely one of our priorities in the next year or so, is really how do we almost have a national movement with higher institutions to really look at service as it is, and provide credits during their service, or to actually waive or discount tuition. Marcia, I don't know, you might have some actual examples.
Yeah, I was just going to add that AmeriCorps has a Schools of National Service initiative that's happening right now. And so higher education institutions can basically sign a letter of commitment that provides some type of incentive to AmeriCorps members and alums. So it could be matching the education award in part or in full. It can be reduced tuition. It can be any number of things. And so one of the initiatives that we're working on in Michigan is trying to encourage and broaden participation in the Schools of National Service initiative. And it's something that we're hopeful and have conversations out to a lot of different organizations right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think this brings us into like one of our final questions that we have. So please feel free if you have other questions to add them in the chat. But what are some of the differences and approaches related to career and education pathways? I know, Marcia, you started this conversation a little bit about expanding the Schools of National Service participation, but I'm sure that there are others.
I think for one is going back to the work as a strategy for workforce development. How do we get more organizations, businesses across the country or within your community to really provide that, help members expand their professional skills or their, or shadowing, help them, experience different things that might help them be more successful. So I think that's one way, is really building collaborations to expand the access to different career opportunities, and then be able to expand on those. And then I think one goes back to kind of what I talked about earlier is, service for us, for our school district, is an internship. So how do we expand that concept of a internship to make it more, which I think connects to all the larger policy, the bigger strategies too, but how do we look at that, expand that idea of internship or apprenticeship as a way of career pathway through service programs?
Yeah, I would just like to add that I've heard the concept of service year as a civic apprenticeship, and that really resonated with me. And I think that it's spot on. There's so many individuals that do a year of service and really understand their why during that experience, and build a lot of understanding of what is happening in their community. So whether or not they actually, become a staff member at the service site where they're serving or with other community partners in their community, it's a really, ideal way for individuals to get that hands-on service experience, a deeper understanding of the issues in their community, what the support structure is in communities, and to really be able to tap into those networks throughout their service term, hopefully, so that they can find that position, which could be a phenomenal next step for them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think I'll just plug too that on our resource hub, we talk a lot about civic apprenticeships in one of our guides. So if you want to take a closer look at some of the models that we, in the work that we did in that work through the Lumina Foundation, please feel free to refer to resources.serviceyear.org. There is a resource there, but I think it's absolutely right that positioning service years as a civic apprenticeship model, and allowing individuals to really understand not just that this is a great thing to do in your community, but this is absolutely a skill building opportunity, and ensuring that all stakeholders locally understand your service, the service year programs that are in that local area, as well as thinking about ways to engage in partnership opportunities, local meetings, and really thinking intentionally about how can we continue to build and cultivate skills within the service year. I think the other pieces that we heard today is that awareness is key here. Also, partnerships are particularly important, and ensuring that all of that is centered in the member experience and ensuring that your members are well prepared. Any final words before we wrap up from the two of you? And then we'll get prepared for our transition.
I think just my final word is that I've seen over and over again how impactful a service year can be for individuals. It really helped launch my career. It launched my husband's career. I've seen so many members come through, our service year programs and find those connections and gain that, skill level and confidence in their own abilities to, really step into roles and be those future leaders. So I've seen it happen over and over again, and I know that it's a phenomenal strategy for individuals.
Just kind of tell off Marcia, empower. We're going to empower the members, empower ourselves, and then empower the community. I mean, I think all that empowerment and service go hand in hand. We just need to shout it out, I guess, top the mountains and get more people on board.